Step 2. The voice that enchants. The power of male communication. Introduction. The sound that conquers. You've climbed the first step. You've learned about the silence that magnetizes. Now it's time to use your voice as an instrument of power, connection, and desire. Because the truth is, there's no point in being handsome, strong, or successful if your words push people away instead of bringing them closer. Many men sabotage their own achievements by not knowing how to communicate clearly, firmly, and emotionally intelligently. They talk too much. They talk too little. They speak without soul. And what do women perceive? A lack of presence. A lack of listening. A lack of truth. Today you will discover that a man's voice is not just in his vocal cords, but in his gaze, his gestures, his silence between words, and the firmness with which he holds a conversation. In this step, we'll delve into the world of high-performance male emotional communication. You'll learn that communicating well isn't about speaking beautifully. It's about speaking with truth, presence, and intention. Are you ready to enchant with the sound of your authenticity? Then take it up a notch. In the next few minutes, you'll unlock the hidden power of your voice and learn how it can become your greatest weapon of seduction, leadership, and magnetism. Prepare for transformation. The language of impact. How your words shape your image. Imagine for a moment a man who enters a room with a firm and calm demeanor. He doesn't rush. He doesn't look around. He simply stands there, his body conveying confidence. When he speaks, his voice doesn't shout, but it doesn't whisper either. He speaks with intention. He speaks with purpose. The people around him listen to him respectfully. Women observe him curiously. Other men fall silent, intrigued. This is the power of a man who masters the language of impact. A man who knows that every word that comes out of his mouth carries part of his emotional identity. A man who understands that speaking well isn't about fancy phrases, but about truth, presence, and clarity. Here's something few men openly admit. You are shaped by the words you choose, and the ones you choose not to say. The way you communicate is the lens through which others see your confidence, maturity, intelligence, and even your sensuality. The right words can open doors, awaken desire, and build trust. The wrong words can close paths, create distrust, and destroy attraction. 1. The first image is verbal. Even before speaking. Many men believe that appearance is the most important thing when approaching someone. And while appearance does have its initial value, the real impact happens the moment you open your mouth. You can be well-groomed, have a nice body, or be dressed classily. But if what comes out of your mouth doesn't convey presence, clarity, and authenticity, all of that becomes irrelevant. Think about how many times you've seen a physically attractive man, but as soon as he starts talking, all positive impressions are shattered. He makes inappropriate jokes, uses too much slang, speaks too quickly, or spouts nonsense. He delivers himself in an unstructured way. The result? He conveys immaturity, insecurity, and a lack of emotional leadership, even if unconsciously. On the other hand, a man who speaks clearly, with presence and intention, even with limited linguistic resources, activates a language that resonates beyond the ear, reaching the other person's emotional unconscious. He conveys credibility, value, and presence without having to sell himself. 2. The invisible mistake. Talking to be accepted. One of the most common mistakes in the male world today is talking to be accepted. It's the famous unconscious clown. That guy who constantly tries to please, makes jokes, worries too much about other people's laughter, and brags. He does all this for a simple reason: insecurity. And why is this a fatal error in emotional communication? Because this artificial posture conveys an energy, that of someone who needs approval to exist, and this feminine energy instinctively perceives it. When a man talks too much trying to please, he shows too much vulnerability, exposing emotional neediness. Instead of attracting, he repels. Because the other person feels like you're selling something that, deep down, is insecurity. Solution: change your mindset. Speak to express yourself, not to be accepted. Speak to contribute, not to impress. Speak when you have something real to say, clearly and without rushing. This changes everything. 3. The inner voice that controls the outer voice. Effective communication doesn't start in your mouth. It starts in your mind. It starts with your inner voice. Within you, there's a constant dialogue. Will she like me? I need to say something clever. I have to impress. I can't fail. This inner voice is your true script, and if you don't reprogram it, it will control your speech, your rhythm, your tone, your presence. Therefore, the language of impact begins with emotional awareness. Before interacting with anyone, ask yourself, what is my intention with this speech? Am I speaking out of presence or necessity? Do I know the appropriate time for silence and intervention? This self-observation aligns your external voice with your internal identity, creating coherence. You stop appearing like someone who's acting and start being yourself, with authenticity and emotional strength. 4. The power of pauses and breathing. Another powerful secret to impactful communication lies in pauses and conscious breathing. Anxious men speak as if time is running out. They rush through sentences, trying to fill every silence as if running away from themselves. The result is a confusing message, heightened stress, and diminished interest. Now, notice the effect of a man who breathes before responding. A man who breathes deeply and pauses before speaking. This pause says, I am here. I am in no hurry. I listen to myself first. It conveys self-control, emphasizes intention, and creates a safe emotional space for others to express themselves. Pausing is a form of power, a strategic silence that communicates emotional sovereignty. Combined with a calm, articulate tone of voice, this pause transforms your speech into an invitation to be present. 5. Talk less, communicate more. Speaking well doesn't mean speaking more. It means speaking with intention. The biggest mistake men make is trying to compensate for insecurity by talking excessively. It becomes predictable, repetitive, and mundane. Communication loses value. It becomes noise. A true communicator is one who uses few words with great weight. He knows that each word is an investment of presence and that strategically employed silence is worth more than empty speech. Some practical examples. Instead of an exaggerated and superficial compliment, you're beautiful, smart, amazing. Opt for something simpler and more impactful. There's something in your eyes that captivates me. Avoid wordy words. Breathe between sentences. Allow silence to foster emotional connection. Use open-ended questions. What moves you? How do you see? Instead of monologues. 6. Practical technique, the voice diary. A simple but transformative practice is the voice diary. It works like this. Record a 2 to 3 minute audio diary. It can be about something you believe, feel, or desire. Listen to this audio carefully afterwards. Identify what sounds authentic, what sounds insecure, where your voice wavers, where you rush. Rewrite your speech with more intention and clarity. Record again the next day. Compare. Observe the progress. Repeat for 30 days. This exercise activates your self-listening skills and puts you in control of your voice. You'll notice where you're sabotaging your presence, where anxiety is taking over, where you lack coherence. And then you can shape your communication so it reflects the man you truly want to be. 7. Topic conclusion. All of this leads us to an essential conclusion. The language of impact is not about manipulating, impressing, or convincing. It's about reflecting your presence authentically, confidently, and coherently. When you speak with intention, when you speak from your center, your words carry energy. They change environments. They connect people. They inspire trust. When you understand the power of words, you stop saying anything. When you master your communication, you become a natural procrastinator. You walk into a room and change the mood without saying a word. You stop being ordinary. You become remembered, desired, admired. Because the voice of a man who knows what he's saying and why he's saying it awakens something deeper than attraction. It sparks respect and real chemistry. And that is the first step within step 2. This is a complete topic with over 1,000 words. If you'd like, I can continue with topic 2, active listening. The secret isn't to talk more, but to listen better. May I continue? Sources. You said yes. Don't forget that each topic must have more than 1,000 words. ChatGPT said, perfect, Romulo. Let's move on to topic 1 of step 2, now expanded to contain over 1,000 words as required. This step is titled Step 2, Silent Security, the Trust You Earn Without Shouting. Topic 1, The Invisible Foundation, How Real Self-Confidence is Formed, and Why It's Irresistible. Introduction to Topic 1. When a man enters a room with true self-confidence, something changes. The air feels different. He doesn't need to raise his voice, show off his car, or boast about his achievements. He simply is. And that's enough to draw eyes, to draw energy, to make him noticed even in silence. But what is this presence? Where does this confidence that doesn't need to be forced come from? In this topic, we'll get to the foundation, how true self-confidence is born, how it's structured, how it grows stronger, and most importantly, how you can build it, even if you currently feel lost, insecure, or disconnected from who you truly are. 1. Understanding the difference between self-confidence and arrogance. Before we begin building, we need to know what we're really trying to build. Many men confuse self-confidence with arrogance. The difference is subtle but essential. Self-confidence is quiet, firm, and calm. It comes from the inner certainty that you are enough. Arrogance, on the other hand, is loud, defensive, disguised as security, but rooted in the fear of not being accepted. Truly confident men don't need to prove anything to anyone. They don't argue to win. They don't expose their qualities. They simply reveal themselves in their actions. Common mistake. 1. Many insecure men try to mask their lack of self-confidence with exaggerated behavior, talking too loudly, making too many lame jokes, exposing their material possessions, and interrupting conversations to show off. This turns them off because it conveys desperation. How to avoid it? Work on self-awareness. Acknowledge your insecurities without fear. There's no shame in feeling small. Shame is living forever hiding behind masks. 2. The origin of trust. Where does it come from? Self-confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, brick by brick, day by day. It arises from coherence. A person feels secure when they live according to their beliefs, when their thoughts, feelings, and actions are aligned. This builds integrity, and integrity is the foundation of self-confidence. Another pillar is constant action toward growth. Every time you fulfill a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you're strengthening your inner foundation. It's like telling your brain, I can trust myself. Common mistake number 2, men who overpromise and underdeliver, who say this is it and then don't. Every broken promise creates a micro-trauma to their self-confidence. How to avoid it? Stop promising yourself things you're not ready to deliver. Start small, do the basics with excellence, and then raise the bar. Self-confidence doesn't come from grand gestures, but from small commitments honored daily. 3. Body speaks, the nonverbal language of confidence. You can say whatever you want, but if your body doesn't support what comes out of your mouth, your message will be nullified. Body language has more impact on the perception of self-confidence than any speech. Confident men occupy space effortlessly. Their shoulders are open, their breathing is even, their gaze is steady, their smile is sincere. They take their time, they wait for the right moment. They remain calm, even in the face of tension. This all communicates a subtle message. I'm fine where I am, and I don't need your approval to exist. Common mistake, number 3, closed postures, averted gaze, hand-wringing, rapid speech, forced laughter. These convey anxiety and insecurity, and harm connection. How to avoid it? Practice physical self-control. Breathe deeply. Open your shoulders. Keep your chin aligned. Practice keeping a steady gaze. Record yourself speaking. Observe your mannerisms. Your body is your first line of communication. And a woman notices everything, even without knowing it. 4. The importance of safe silence. Have you ever noticed how insecure men fear silence? They feel the constant need to fill in the blanks, justify their statements, explain their jokes. Confident men, on the other hand, master silence. They know they don't need to talk all the time, and that's exactly where the magic happens. Silence, used well, is a powerful weapon of presence. It creates tension. It attracts attention. It builds mystery. It conveys self-control. It shows that you're comfortable with yourself, and that's extremely seductive. Common mistake. 4. Men who constantly try to entertain a woman as if she'll get bored if silence persists. This conveys insecurity and emotional dependence. How to avoid it? Practice being silent with yourself. Meditation helps, but the main thing is to endure the initial discomfort of not being approved. When you feel comfortable in your own silence, it becomes a magnetic field. 5. Being a man of your word, the power of consistency. Few things destroy trust, internal and external, more than breaking one's word. When a man speaks and doesn't follow through, the world around him distrusts him, and he sabotages himself. Women quickly notice when a man talks a lot and acts little. It's as if every broken promise leaves an invisible trail of disappointment in the realm of attraction. On the other hand, men who say little but deliver exude an aura of real strength. Common mistake, number 5. Saying, let's hang out sometime, and never making the date. Saying you're ready for a relationship when you're still emotionally attached to your ex. Saying you don't want something serious, and then demanding exclusivity. How to avoid? Be clear, honest, and objective. Talk less, promise less, deliver more. This builds credibility, and credibility is the foundation of sustainable attraction. Closing of topic 1. True self-confidence doesn't scream. It emanates. It's in the subtext, in the way you walk, look, breathe, respond, and act. It's the invisible foundation that supports your entire posture in the world, and especially in front of women. When you start building it for real, everything changes. Your energy, your voice, your ability to attract and maintain real connections. This is just the first step of this second step. Now that we've got the basics down, it's time to delve into a more delicate and essential point: the fear of rejection. In the next section, we'll talk about how hidden insecurity sabotages your dating life and how to turn it into power. When you're ready, just tell me. Go ahead. Resilient confidence topic 2. Building perceptible emotional self-confidence without fuss, avoiding narcissism and comparisons. Introduction. Prepare yourself for the second rung of the modern man's ladder, resilient confidence. The time has come to delve deep into building true self-confidence, the kind that is felt, not proclaimed, but perceived in one's gaze, posture, and choices. Being resilient isn't about being cold or arrogant. It's about knowing how to weather storms without losing your inner balance. In this topic, you'll understand how to consolidate a quiet, deeply attractive emotional security that dispenses with shouting and ostentation. You'll also learn how to neutralize the traps of narcissism and comparisons that sabotage your value. Advance on this journey of self-mastery and prepare to transform the way you are seen and experienced by yourself and by those you wish to win over. Why doesn't true confidence make noise? Genuine self-confidence needs no advertising. It is, above all, silent and self-sufficient. Truly secure men don't seek external approval. They possess a core of emotional stability that's hard to shake. This is visible in small gestures: a natural, restrained smile, a relaxed body, and an absence of rushing to please or justify oneself. Research in behavioral neuroscience shows that self-confidence is linked to the coherence of one's values, the acceptance of one's vulnerabilities, and the ability to accept mistakes without dramatization. Society often confuses self-confidence with bravado, exhibitionism, and a strident alpha posture. However, great leaders, athletes, and men admired by women rarely raise flags of security or achievement. They let their results speak for themselves. True confidence conveys security to those around you, making coexistence light and pleasant. You don't need to compete, prove yourself, or humiliate others to be admired. The mistake here is to think that self-confidence is about speaking loudly, interrupting, or trying to spread social acceptance. This is a defense against insecurity. The opposite is true. Be comfortable in your own presence. Don't try to show how you feel. Simply act according to your principles. Who notices this? Women, friends, colleagues? Everyone, because it's impossible to fake it. The danger of comparisons, the silent poison. Constantly comparing yourself to other men in appearance, possessions, achievements, abilities is a sure path to chronic insecurity. Social psychology studies show that contemporary digital culture, based on status, likes, and appearances, intensifies imposter syndrome. Men fall into this trap and live to try to be more, have more, show more. The result is anxiety, eternal dissatisfaction, and corrosive self-criticism, all of which repel authentic relationships. The solution lies in developing your own metrics of success. Resilient self-confidence comes from within, not from the victories of others. Ask yourself, are my goals my own, or have I inherited expectations from others? Where are my unique strengths that set me apart from comparisons? Take healthy breaks from social media, practice gratitude, and focus on personal improvement, not empty competition. Big mistake here: using comparisons as motivation. If he can do it, so can I. May work, but it creates a toxic and fragile obsession. Truly confident men are inspired, but they don't compete. They learn from others, but they don't feel diminished by their growth. Narcissism, illusion of power, trap of loneliness. Narcissism is a dangerous trap because, at first glance, it's often mistaken for self-confidence. But in reality, it's insecurity camouflaged by superiority. The narcissist constantly needs to prove they're better, constantly seeks praise, dominates conversations, and feels above the rules. Results of studies published in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin show that narcissists are initially perceived as attractive, but soon become emotionally exhausting because they don't know how to give space, listen, or demonstrate genuine vulnerability. Resilient self-confidence, on the other hand, allows for openness to mistakes, active listening, and genuine exchange. Confident men aren't afraid to apologize, change their minds, or admit mistakes. They know they're not perfect and can grow from criticism. This makes them deeply human, approachable, and trustworthy. Women increasingly value mature humility, healthy self-criticism, and the ability to reinvent themselves without denying their own strength. How to avoid falling into this trap? Practice genuine praise instead of competition. Develop empathy, question your motivations. Do you want recognition or authenticity? Evaluate yourself. How often do you praise others without feeling envious? Can you admire and promote the success of others? Those who answer yes to these questions demonstrate authentic confidence. How to truly develop emotional self-confidence. First step: self-awareness. Identify your strengths and weaknesses. Differentiate constructive criticism from personal attacks. Psychologists advocate self-listening routines. Write about your daily victories. Recognize small achievements. Celebrate limits you've overcome. Practice daily gratitude. It reorganizes the brain to identify skills, not just flaws. Second step, progressive exposure to discomfort. There is no confidence without challenge. Even the most insecure men can build resilience by gradually stepping out of their comfort zone. Speaking in public, starting conversations, accepting feedback. Growth happens in discomfort, not in the comfort zone. Third step, a mindset of constant progress. Avoid striving for perfection. Accept setbacks as a natural part of the journey. Learn from mistakes, but don't beat yourself up. Develop the habit of replacing judgments with questions. What can I learn from this? How can I improve tomorrow? This makes you less reactive and more open to new things, the key to building true confidence. Common mistake, thinking that confidence is innate. It isn't. It's built day after day through experiences of personal growth and maturity in the face of one's own limits. Stop waiting to feel confident before taking action. Take action, and confidence will come naturally. Signs and attitudes of irresistible self-confidence. Resilient confidence shines through in every detail. Some universal attitudes accompany it. Speak slowly and clearly. There's no rush because there's no anxiety about being judged by others. A direct, calm gaze. The intention is not to challenge, but to connect. Conscious use of space. Avoid abrupt gestures. Keep your body relaxed. An easy but not forced smile. Willingness to listen and learn from anyone. Acceptance of constructive criticism without automatic defense. Sharing achievements. Always recognizing the team, the context, and the support received. Modern women quickly sense the difference. They notice when a man isn't competitive, doesn't constantly seek attention, doesn't try to prove something. This lightness is seductive because it conveys exclusivity, security, maturity, and a promise of a relationship without emotional games. Mistake to avoid. Artificial confidence, full of cliches, poses, or ostentation. Excessive self-promotion on social media. The urge to show off status and the desire to always win are symptoms of inner dissatisfaction. Always opt for authentic dialogue, where you present yourself truthfully, without the need to stage self-confidence. Conclusion and emotional trigger. True confidence doesn't scream, it vibrates. It makes you a safe haven, a gentle companion, an effortlessly admired man. The subtle power of resilient self-confidence brings you closer to the right people and repels toxic relationships. It's the foundation that sustains passion, a career, and healthy friendships. And now, prepare for the next step. You'll discover how this new emotional balance can deepen your connection with others, exploring emotions in a mature and magnetic way. In the next step, we'll delve into smart emotions, connection beyond the body. If you're ready to revolutionize affection and experience truer relationships, the path has already been paved. Follow me to the next chapter of this ascension. Topic 3: Intelligent Emotions, Connection Beyond the Body. Introduction. We've reached the third major step on the modern man's ladder: mastering intelligent emotions. After understanding silent self-confidence, it's time to delve deeper into emotional richness, the ability to understand, manage, and communicate feelings maturely. True sexual, emotional, and social connection begins here. In a man's ability to go beyond the body, to open up and truly engage in dialogue with himself and others. This chapter is the bridge that connects silent magnetism and resilient confidence with the genuine intimacy modern women seek. Make room for the new. Those who learn to cultivate intelligent emotions never walk alone, never return to old discomfort, never again be seen as immature in the face of the complexities of emotional life. What is emotional intelligence, and why does it determine your value in the eyes of women? Emotional intelligence EI is the core competency of the modern man, consisting of identifying, understanding, and managing emotions, both his own and others, rather than being held hostage by them. Research published in the Harvard Business Review and the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships proves that men with high EI establish much more satisfying relationships, both in love and friendship, and in their careers. They can communicate without aggression, recognize their own emotional patterns, and are seen as safe havens by women and friends. For today's women, emotional intelligence is one of the top green flags when choosing a partner. Women report feeling much more attracted and secure with men who can talk about feelings, deal with frustrations maturely, and practice active listening. In the era of therapy bro summer, men who go to therapy, recognize emotions, and name their feelings are seen as more trustworthy and prepared for a genuine relationship. Common mistake: thinking that being emotionally intelligent means being weak, overly sensitive, or a nice guy without limits. In fact, EI is a sign of rare maturity. It's not about being vulnerable all the time, but knowing how to balance emotional exposure with discernment. Emotionally intelligent people don't shy away from conflict, but deal with it constructively. Self-awareness and self-care, the foundation of emotional maturity. Self-awareness is the first fundamental building block for building balanced emotions. It's the ability to recognize your own reactions, limits, triggers, and recurring patterns. Men often grow up being told they can't show emotions. Men don't cry, swallow it, keep control, and end up repressing their feelings, becoming reactive or explosive. Self-awareness invites you to observe, without judgment, how you deal with rejection, criticism, jealousy, and insecurities. True strength lies in recognizing these emotions, embracing them, understanding them, and working to transform them. Practices such as reflective writing, guided meditation, breathing exercises, and even the simple act of asking, "Why am I feeling this?" create space for growth. Self-care is also essential. It involves taking care of your body, sleep, nutrition, and emotional boundaries. Resting, talking to trusted friends, setting aside time for hobbies, and seeking professional support when needed, all of this strengthens emotional intelligence. Men who practice self-care regularly report much lower stress levels and more successful relationships. Common mistake: thinking that self-care is vanity or a woman's thing. This prejudice still keeps many men from achieving emotional balance. Self-care is self-respect, a shield against burnout, and the foundation of inner vitality. Empathy, vulnerability, and openness, the bridges to deep connection. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in another person's shoes, understanding feelings and motivations without premature judgment. It's one of the qualities most admired by women because it creates space for dialogue, trust, and true intimacy. An empathetic man knows how to listen. He doesn't need to save his partner or control her reactions, but offers support, understanding, and humility. Vulnerability, in turn, is not weakness, but courage. It consists of opening up space to expose insecurities, fears, dreams, and limits, without shame, without attempting to manipulate the other person's perception. Brené Brown, a world leader in vulnerability studies, emphasizes that people who allow themselves to be vulnerable cultivate much closer and more meaningful relationships. Emotional openness means knowing how to say and hear no, accepting criticism without drama, sharing personal stories, sincerely apologizing, and acknowledging when things aren't going well. This builds trust because no one wants to share their life with someone who's inflexible or too perfect. Men who practice empathy and vulnerability are perceived as mature, trustworthy, and interesting, qualities of extremely high relational value. Common mistake: using empathy manipulatively, I listen just to get something, or being overly vulnerable as an initial winning strategy. Balance is key. Therapy, support groups, and emotional transformation, the trend of the times. Mental health, self-care, and emotional support for men have never been so discussed. Research shows that men who engage in therapy or open listening groups, men's circles, experience less anxiety, improve their self-esteem, and become much more mature in their emotional decisions. The stigma is fading. Today, women see therapy as a sign of responsibility, courage, and maturity. Making room for emotional growth isn't synonymous with weakness. It's a sign of existential protagonism. Men who have started therapy report improvements in their social, family, and sexual lives. The simple act of talking to a professional or group reorganizes concepts, brings self-understanding, and reduces emotional blocks. Common mistake: believing that only the weak or sick go to therapy. The truth: therapy is a tool for self-knowledge, strength, and continuous growth. The men who evolve most emotionally are precisely those who recognize that no one is self-sufficient all the time. How to develop intelligent emotions in practice: habits, examples, and course corrections. Have honest conversations with yourself about feelings and reactions. Engage in meditation practices, mindful breathing, or reflective writing. Be honest about your emotions with partners and friends, communicating discomfort constructively. Seek reliable feedback and learn to listen, not judge. Practice giving praise and gratitude daily, especially to people close to you. In heated discussions, try to slow down. Take a breath before responding. Acknowledge if you're angry, and avoid yelling or attacking. Learn how to apologize and repair damage quickly. Set aside time to care for your body and mind regularly. Consider starting individual or group therapy, even if just to try it out. Central error: waiting for a crisis to seek help or maturity. Emotional intelligence is built every day through small and large choices. Conclusion and emotional trigger: cultivating intelligent emotions is the dividing line between ordinary men and magnetic men, between shallow relationships and truly deep bonds. By practicing self-awareness, empathy, self-care, and openness, you become capable of inspiring, supporting, and truly connecting. This is the secret to lasting relationships, memorable encounters, and a life filled with meaning. And here's the invitation to the next step. Imagine transforming not only your emotions, but also the way you infect the environment with lightness and fun. In the next step, you'll learn about the power of authentic humor, capable of engaging, attracting, and creating unforgettable memories. If you're ready to be not only admired, but desired and remembered, follow me to step 4. Authentic humor, lightness that engages. Topic 4: authentic humor, lightness that engages. Introduction. We are ready for another decisive step on the modern man's ladder: understanding and conquering the world of authentic humor. The time has come to transform lightness into power, to see laughter not as an escape, but as a bridge to deep connection and a strategic tool for the emotionally mature man. Humor, far from being merely entertainment, is one of the social skills most valued by women and essential for creating bonds, disarming resistance, and shining in any environment. In this topic, you will discover how humor connects to emotional intelligence, what types of humor truly impact, why a sense of humor attracts and builds loyalty, and finally, how to develop an authentic, irresistible style without falling into the common mistakes that alienate and disconnect. Introduction to humor as an expression of emotional intelligence. Humor is, above all, an advanced demonstration of emotional intelligence. Knowing how to laugh at oneself, improvise in the face of the unexpected, diffuse tense situations, and create lightness in the environment are unmistakable signs of maturity and self-confidence. According to recent research in the fields of positive psychology and neuroscience of relationships, people with a refined sense of humor have lower levels of social anxiety and develop superior conflict resolution skills. Men who can use humor intelligently demonstrate their ability to deal with uncertainty, manage tension, and transform obstacles into opportunities for connection. Authentic laughter communicates resilience, creativity, and flexibility. the ability to adapt and see the bright side, even in difficult times. This is instantly perceived by women and helps create an organic sense of well-being around them. Common mistake: thinking that humor is synonymous with telling non-stop jokes or keeping the mood light all the time. Men who force laughter or try to be the funny one in class often fall into excess and end up conveying insecurity. The most magnetic humor is the kind that emerges naturally from situations, not the programmed and incessant kind. Sense of humor and attraction. Scientific evidence. Several scientific studies have proven the importance of humor in the attraction process. According to research published in the journals Evolution and Human Behavior and Personality and Individual Differences, women tend to prefer partners with intelligent, creative, and adaptive humor. Spontaneous laughter activates brain areas linked to empathy and desire, strengthening interpersonal bonds and signaling intelligence and cooperativeness. Humor acts as an evolutionary shortcut to indicate mental health, creativity, and problem-solving potential. Women report feeling more connected, secure, and relaxed in the presence of men who make them laugh in a positive and respectful way, without harsh sarcasm or humiliation. Humor also has a physiological impact, reducing stress levels, increasing the production of neurotransmitters associated with pleasure, such as dopamine and serotonin, and making encounters more memorable. Common mistake: using excessive self-deprecating humor, turning everything into a joke, or adopting cynical and ironic postures to impress. Research shows that while self-mockers may seem approachable at first, in the long run they can convey insecurity or act like court jesters, which diminishes genuine respect and attraction. How to use humor to create connection and ease tension. The practical use of humor in relationships begins with the ability to observe the environment and grasp the rhythm of the conversation. More sensitive men recognize the right moments to insert a light-hearted comment or use unusual analogies. When they sense that tension has risen, a witty and well-placed phrase can completely change the mood. At the beginning of a date, light jokes about everyday situations, unforced puns, and small jokes about current or personal events are excellent icebreakers. Another important point: humor works best when it's inclusive, when it invites others into the fun, without exposing or disrespecting anyone. There are endless possibilities for creating complicity using short, funny personal stories, shareable memes, knowing glances, and laughter over trivial, everyday mistakes. This brings people closer, creates intimacy, and moves the relationship forward organically. Common mistake: using humor at someone else's expense, provoking offensive laughter, or demonstrating superiority. This quickly turns the environment into a minefield, alienates partners, and can lead to deep hurts. Common mistakes in humor attempts and how to avoid them. Among the most frequent mistakes we find: forcing jokes out of context in an attempt to impress, repeating old stories and jokes at every meeting, losing spontaneity, making jokes about sensitive topics without sensitivity to the moment and the other person's story, adopting the stereotype of the sad clown, the one who uses humor as a defense mechanism to avoid deep conversations or uncomfortable situations, not respecting the other person's nonverbal cues, insisting on being funny when the other person is clearly not in the mood. To avoid such slip-ups, the key is mindfulness and active listening. A good social comedian isn't someone who tries to please everyone all the time, but rather someone who integrates with the environment, notices subtleties, and offers lightheartedness without intrusiveness. Developing genuine and authentic humor for seduction. The path to authentic humor begins with self-knowledge. Reflect on which aspects of your life lend themselves to healthy irony, which stories make you laugh at yourself, and when you felt genuinely lighthearted. Those who cultivate hobbies, read good books, pay attention to the world, and allow themselves to experience new things. Build a personal repertoire for natural, connected play. Practice laughing at your own little gaffes. Seek inspiration from great comedians who use laughter intelligently, Jot down funny everyday situations and share them when spontaneous. Be open to new things, and don't be afraid to play with your own fears and insecurities. This is a step toward maturity and humanizes any interaction. Being truly funny isn't about dressing up. It's about being vulnerable, adaptable, and courageous enough to face your own embarrassments and turn them into opportunities for connection. The humor that most delights women is the kind that includes, welcomes, and connects, never ridicules, infantilizes, or excludes. Key mistake: thinking that courage and humor are opposites. In reality, only the bravest can be tolerant under pressure, improvise in the unexpected, and laugh at themselves when they stumble. Conclusion and emotional trigger. Authentic humor is strength and maturity in action. The man who learns to use laughter as an expression of emotional intelligence becomes a lighthearted companion, a desired partner, and a striking presence in any setting. Develop your lightheartedness, and you will see the doors to happier and more fascinating relationships open naturally. On the next step, deepen your mastery of grooming. Discover how to fine-tune your appearance, values, and routine without ostentation, creating an image that communicates coherence, health, and admiration. If you're ready for a definitive change, follow me to the next step. You're becoming a complete and irresistible man. Topic 5. Consistent care. Appearance with purpose. Introduction. We continue our journey through the rise of the modern man, now reaching one of the most visible and, at the same time, frequently misunderstood aspects: consistent care for one's appearance. Much is said about male aesthetics, beauty standards, musculature, hair, and style, but almost always from the perspective of ostentation or superficiality. The objective of this step is, on the contrary, to show that true personal care must be deeply aligned with each man's values and life purpose, reflecting self-respect and consistency, more than mere vanity. In this chapter, you will discover how to care for your body meaningfully, understand the traits truly admired in the female universe, avoid the pitfalls of excess, and create a ritual that, in addition to elevating your image, strengthens your health, self-esteem, and social magnetism. The importance of body care aligned with personal values. Taking care of your appearance goes beyond the mirror. It's a direct reflection of how you see and respect yourself. Men who seek to develop authenticity and genuine self-confidence cultivate self-care routines that make sense for their realities, goals, and beliefs, and not just to please or fit into a social norm. The real difference lies between those who take care of themselves for pleasure and conviction, and those who do so out of insecurity or a need for external approval. Extensive research in psychology and health indicates that consistent self-care is deeply connected to mental health, productivity, and the ability to achieve goals. Men who practice self-care not only become more attractive to others, but also become more productive, calm, and confident. Modern women report noticing and admiring men who take care of themselves not only aesthetically, but also through healthy habits, posture, clean clothing, pleasant smells, and attention to the small details that demonstrate respect for their own personal history. Common mistake: starting major self-care changes just to impress someone or follow passing fads. The true value lies in creating practices that are a natural extension of your lifestyle and principles. Consistent self-care is silent. It exists for you before it exists for the world. Physical traits and health perception, waist-to-chest ratio, and other indicators. Although beauty standards change over the decades and across cultures, science reveals some traits that consistently stand out in the perception of health and attractiveness. One of the most studied is the waist-to-chest ratio. Men with a slightly wider chest in relation to their waist, forming the physical V, tend to be perceived as healthier, more dominant, and more attractive, according to studies published in Evolution and Human Behavior. However, physical appearance should be understood as an indicator of vitality, not perfection. Other aspects women value include Clean and well cared for skin, beard, and hair adjusted to your face, erect posture, and calm gestures. Clothes aligned to the profile, clean and adjusted. Signs of energy in the eyes, an authentic smile, and comfortable breathing. It's important to remember that everyone has their own tastes and interests. The common denominator is self-care. What truly attracts you is a reflection of your inner balance, not the number of muscles or inches of biceps. Common mistake: falling into the extremes of obsession, adopting risky supplements, miracle diets, dubious surgeries, or strenuous routines that increase the risk of dissatisfaction, physical injuries, and hormonal problems. The healthy path prioritizes consistency and well-being, not just quick results. How to cultivate daily self-care that isn't ostentation, but an expression of respect. The secret to consistent self-care is simplicity. Small, daily actions repeated with self-love, consistency, and truth produce more results than drastic, unachievable changes. Examples of effective self-care: regular facial and body hygiene routine. Choose your perfumes consciously, not based on price or brand, but on what represents your story. Hair and beard style adjusted to the shape of the face and professional profile. Regular practice of physical activity aligned with pleasure. It could be weight training, running, fighting, team sports, dancing. Balanced diet, prioritizing natural meals and meal frequency. Take care of your sleep. Regularity, airy environment, and free of electronics before bed. Annual medical checkup, preventing silent diseases and promoting longevity. Avoid flaunting brands, expensive clothes, or accessories just for the sake of appearance. Excessive display can either alienate or attract people for the wrong reasons, opening the door to superficial relationships. What deepens bonds is consistency over time. Common mistake: constantly comparing yourself to the unattainable standards of digital influencers, adopting styles that don't fit your own routine. This only increases the feeling of inadequacy. Common mistakes in personal care and how to avoid pitfalls. See the mistakes that most prevent men from taking consistent self-care. Abandoning self-care after getting into a new relationship, becoming a slave to the gym or the scale, generating anxiety and suffering. Adopting restrictive diets without professional supervision. Not accepting your own appearance and constantly trying to change everything. Accept and normalize signs of exhaustion, tiredness, or addictions as if they were an obligatory part of the male routine. Constantly seeking approval from friends or partners about clothing, hair, or perfume. The solution lies in self-observation, self-compassion, and constant reflection on what is pleasurable and sustainable. Mature men know that appearance is just one result of a series of daily choices aimed at overall well-being. Integrating physical, mental, and emotional care for a coherent and admirable image. The secret lies not only in caring for the physical body, but also in integrating it with emotional balance and mental health. Men who combine physical self-care with leisure time, healthy socializing, personal projects, and self-awareness exude self-esteem and presence. The good energy that many women cite as irresistible. Research shows that people who practice comprehensive self-care sleep better, experience fewer anxiety attacks, recover faster from adversity, and excel in social and professional settings. A coherent image isn't built overnight, but rather brick by brick, reflecting the best in you without forcing stereotypes. Set aside weekly moments to rethink your routine, adjust small details, and celebrate achievements. Small, consistent advances build self-confidence, and self-confidence is the foundation of all male magnetism. Most critical mistake: believing that self-care isn't for me, or that you should only change under pressure. Self-care is the gateway to vitality, longevity, and self-acceptance. It's never too early or too late to start. Conclusion and emotional trigger. Your body reflects your values and priorities. Purposeful appearance isn't about perfection, but about respect and consistency. Those who truly take care of themselves stand out for their authenticity and build healthier, safer, and more lasting relationships. Allow yourself to be a source of admiration, for yourself first and foremost. Now, imagine transforming all this care into the ability to conquer and attract naturally, without effort or superficiality. The next step will reveal the secrets of authentic attraction, where intention and value go hand in hand. Ready to truly conquer? Then, join me on the next step of this journey of evolution and self-mastery. Congratulations on getting this far and dedicating real time to developing your consistent self-care and building a magnetic, healthy, and authentic presence. If today you've understood that self-care isn't about vanity, but about respect and consistency, know this: you're already a few steps above most men, ready to achieve the extraordinary. True transformation only happens to those who take action, and you've just proven to yourself that you're capable of going beyond the superficial, challenging old patterns and climbing another step on this journey of self-mastery. But the modern man's ladder doesn't stop there. It only becomes more fascinating. What if all this confidence and care, aligned with your truth, became the secret weapon of your personal attraction? What if winning over someone stopped being a tiring game and became a natural, irresistible movement? On the next step, I'll show you how to transform intention and authenticity into effortless conquest. Prepare to access the codes of genuine attraction, of the conquest that leaves its mark, and of the evolution that only belongs to those who dare to go beyond the obvious. Challenge yourself to keep going. Don't settle for what you learned today. Take the next step with me and discover what drives true conquerors. If you truly want to stand out, break your blocks, and experience epic relationships, the next video is a must-watch. Click now, leave a comment telling us how self-care is changing your life, share this content with anyone who needs this awakening, and get ready to conquer with ease. Your climb is just beginning. Come with me to the next step, because your best is yet to come.